Most people think they control their money. But if losing a single paycheck would collapse your entire life, money is controlling you. This is not just a problem for people who earn less. Studies show that high-earning professionals, doctors, lawyers, business owners, experience the same financial dread as people earning minimum wage. Why? Because no matter how much comes in, lifestyle expansion quietly absorbs it all. The salary goes up. The anxiety stays. In this video, you will learn exactly how money gets control over your decisions, your career, your relationships, and the specific documented steps that shift you from financial survival to financial sovereignty. Stay until the end, because the final point in this video is something most financial content never talks about, and it might be the most important thing you hear today. Why more money doesn't fix the problem. Here is the core misconception that keeps people stuck. Most people believe that if they just earned more, everything would be fine. And in the early stages of a career, that is partially true. A higher salary pays off debt and covers basic expenses. But this relationship eventually breaks down completely. As income rises, lifestyle creep quietly absorbs the surplus. Professional expenses grow, family commitments expand, and within a few years, a person earning 3 times what they used to earn is no closer to financial independence than when they started. This stagnation happens because income alone cannot build lasting wealth. Real financial progress requires a shift from labor-based earnings, where your time is traded for money, to asset-based ownership, where your money works independently of your hours. The question changes. It stops being, how can I earn more, and becomes, what do I own that continues working when I am not? The business owner's trap. Revenue is not profit. This gap between income and actual wealth is even more visible in small businesses. There is a dangerous belief among small business owners that increasing customer volume automatically fixes financial problems. It does not. Research on micro-enterprises, including dance studios and agency models, shows that raw revenue growth often creates more operational complexity, more stress, and no actual profit increase. The breakdown happens because most owners fail to separate 3 things: gross revenue, owner compensation, and net profit. These are not the same number. Treating them as the same is a structural mistake. In B2B businesses and agency models, cash flow pain is rarely caused by a lack of demand. It is caused by timing gaps. Payroll obligations hit every 2 weeks. Client payments stall. Accounts receivable pile up. Projects expand in scope without rate adjustments. This forces owners into reactive decisions, accepting low-margin work just to stay liquid, underpricing services for 18 to 24 months while client expectations quietly grow, using high-interest merchant cash advances to bridge payroll gaps. The business owner who does not treat profit and loss as a daily survival skill will never escape this loop, regardless of how many clients they have. The psychology behind financial paralysis. Now here's what makes this problem harder than it looks. Financial decisions are not made with pure logic. Behavioral research shows that the brain consistently projects future emotional pain. The fear of failure, vulnerability, or being exposed as inadequate, and then alters present decisions to avoid those anticipated states. This is why people stay in careers that drain them, calling it stability. This is why entrepreneurs delay raising their prices for years, calling it market research. The fear is real, but the reasoning is a disguise. In creative and consulting fields, pricing is rarely a business calculation. It is a statement of personal identity. Claiming a higher rate requires the professional to adopt a bigger version of themselves. If they experience imposter syndrome, if they secretly believe they are not worth that number, they will avoid raising prices entirely. The logic is uncomfortable but documented. If a prospect rejects the higher quote, it does not feel like a business rejection. It feels like a rejection of the self. So the professional stays underpriced because smallness feels safer than exposure. Money is also used as a cognitive shield. I will start my project when I have more financial security is not a financial statement. It is a fear statement. The real constraint is not capital. It is the fear of testing your own ability against reality. Behavioral spending traps that keep people locked in. Beyond business, individual spending behavior creates its own financial prison. The "I deserve it" trap redefines impulse purchases as earned rewards for enduring difficult circumstances. The retail therapy trap uses consumption as a temporary mood regulator. The keeping up trap uses purchases to project a social identity that does not reflect actual financial reality. These patterns are not random. They are connected to early financial environments, how people grew up watching money move in their households. In savings-oriented cultures, decades of diligent saving can paradoxically create an inability to enjoy money in retirement. Because spending has been psychologically associated with irresponsibility for so long. Real financial wellness requires both security and permission. A structured, pre-planned framework where resources can be used without guilt. A critical standard from real financial data. Financial control is not measured by net worth. It is established when monthly income consistently covers essential expenses and leaves a reliable surplus, even a modest buffer of $300. When that margin exists, a sudden emergency does not trigger months of financial recovery. Without it, even small crises compound. The 5 stages of financial maturity. Financial sovereignty is not a single decision. It is a developmental process with 5 documented stages. Stage 1, discernment. Build in the ability to distinguish between essential needs and psychological wants. Without this clarity, budgets remain in constant confusion. Stage 2, discipline. Developing the capacity to pause before spending. This stage is critical when moving from supervised environments to full personal financial freedom. Stage 3, decision judgment. Moving beyond restraint to evaluate trade-offs systematically. Analyzing purchases based on long-term value rather than short-term discounts or urgency. Stage 4, resource stewardship. Shifting focus from immediate transactions to long-term planning. Asking not just, "Can I afford this?" but "How long must my current resources last?" Stage 5, financial character. The final stage where the management of money is integrated with personal values. At this stage, money is no longer a source of anxiety. It becomes a tool of personal sovereignty. Most people never move past stage 2. The ones who do are not necessarily smarter or more talented. They simply made the decision to stop managing money by instinct. Tactical steps that actually work. Based on documented research, here are the specific actions that break the control cycle. 1-week account detox. When experiencing acute financial anxiety, stop checking bank balances for 1 week. This breaks the cycle of obsessive monitoring and allows strategic thinking to replace panic-driven reactions. Automate 10%. Automatically invest at least 10% of all incoming income into compounding assets immediately upon receipt. Automation removes decision fatigue and allows compound interest to build in the background. The 24-hour purchase rule. On all non-essential purchases, wait 24 hours before buying. If the desire remains after that period, evaluate it on objective utility, not emotional impulse. Separate self-worth from pricing. If you work in a creative or consulting field, begin tracking sales, time, and client inquiries as business data. Once pricing becomes a structural mechanic rather than an emotional negotiation, the fear of charging accurately disappears. Establish 2 clear coordinates. Every financial plan requires an honest assessment of where you currently stand and a defined long-term target. Without both, there is no path, only reaction. Money controls people not because they lack discipline, but because they were never taught the structural mechanics behind it. The shift from financial survival to financial sovereignty is documented and achievable. It requires moving from reactive decision-making to deliberate asset-based ownership. It requires separating emotional identity from financial transactions. And it requires a willingness to move through all 5 stages of financial maturity, even when the early stages are uncomfortable. The day money stops controlling you is not the day you become wealthy. It is the day you stop making decisions out of fear and start making them from a clear, structured plan. If this video gave you a new way to think about money, your habits, and your future, subscribe to this channel. Every week we break down financial literacy, behavioral economics, and real strategies for personal growth. Without the jargon, without the noise.